Maimah. You may have the Svarim at home, and if you do, look at so you can use that. Let's begin. This is Shabbos Parshas Mטות-מסעי. Mנחם-אב ה'תשכ. It was subsequently Muga and came out in Tafshin. So the Navi Chagi who lived during the time of the building of the second Beis Hamikdash says, Godol covered Abayis hazeh va'achar min harishon. We just started a new Maamar. Perfect. That's it here. Is it here on the table? It's not there. Tomorrow I'll make a copy with the letters are bigger. I just printed it off the internet. So it's small. You can read it. Huh? Or get them look at. There might be even a volume. Look at Chelik Dalit on the shelf. Love it. You come, you get a big barakah, you deserve it. Look at Dalit is there. I don't know. So it's a Maamar Godol. It's a Mטות-מסעי. Godol Yiheye Abayis hazeh va'achar min harishon. All right, so the prophet Chagi, who lived during the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, says, the greater will be the glory of this latter house over the first. What's he referring to? Yesh b'zeh shnei pirushim, there's two pirushim. Now, the two pirushim are not the same, but in order number 2, I didn't look it up. He says, the tivuch, the reconciliation of the two pirushim, of the two pirushim in the same pasuk, then have to be reconcilable. So you say, see a letter Debro Tafshin, and interestingly enough, printed Nigris Kodesh, and in the Kodesichas Chelik Tes. So in the Ha'aris. Sorry. But we're not looking here, this mind will not deal with address reconciliation of the two Pirushim. Be'ezras Hashem B'neder will look up the beer. Pirish Apostle to simple meaning, Chagi is saying, Shabai Ze'achrim, this latter Beis Hamikdash is which one? The one that's being built now. It was halted and then it was completed. Koi al-Bai Sheni refers to the second one. Now, what sense is it bigger? Godol Abayis harishon bebinyan of Rishonim. It was higher. It was 10. The Heichal was 10 amas higher in the second Beis Hamikdash of the first, and it also was endured 10 years longer. In years, the first Beis Hamikdash lasted for 10 years, and the second 420. That's the Pirish HaPoshet. Zohar is the Zohar says Shabai says that is actually prophesizing about the final Beis Hamikdash. Koi al Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi she'yibon b'mheira v'yameinu, referring to the third Beis Hamikdash that will be built very soon in our day, Godol Abayis harishon v'Abayis hasheni, which will be greater than both the first and the second. The Shneihem nichlolim b'min harishon, both first and second, are included in the words he uses. Greater will be this one than the first. Both, according to the Zohar, are intended when he says min harishon. Because they're both in one category for neither lasting. The third Beis Hamikdash should be eternal. Summary: Poshet Pshat is referring to the second Beis Hamikdash. It'll be greater in time and in size. The Pirish HaZohar referring to the third Beis Hamikdash, and he considers the first two one category. Zahu, continuing the Zohar's Pirish now. The greatness of the third Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara says in Psachim that Lasid Lavai, the nations of the world will say, come, let us go up to the house, to the base of Migdash, referring it to the base Yaakov. Base Yaakov l'chuv v'nelcha. Says the Gemara, base Yaakov, it's not the house of Avram and Yitzchak. The Gemara answers, Taka no. The reference is only, it's described as the house of Yaakov, like Avram shekosav bayha. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, all in the same location, the future base of Migdash, but all described it differently. Avram described it as the mountain, Har Moriah. Yitzchak came to the same place where he met Rivka, and the third is like Yitzchak shekosav baysoda, and he described that location as a field. And Yaakov, but Yaakov had the dream, and later he called it Beis Kale. She Yaakov shekorav bayis. Yaakov called it a house. So the bayis rishon connected Avram. So that's what the Gemara is saying. That no, that because he called it a bayis, so union of a bayis it implies permanence. Moreover, the bayis rishon connected Avram. In fact, the first base of Migdash corresponds to Avram, as explained in Chassidus, was more chesed, by sheni keneged Yitzchak gevura, and by shlishi keneged Yaakov. That Yaakov, which is bias and tiferes, emes, that's why it lasts. Shaykh is the by shlishi, the Yaakov, who, why is the third base of Migdash, which is forever, and stafkar a home, is connected to Yaakov, Kumidasa Shel Yaakov, Emes. Yaakov is Emes. Chesed is ultimately not enduring. Either is Gevura. It's in the fusion that it can be permanent. The Emes to She'ein Shayt V'Hefsek V'Shinloi Emes doesn't change, doesn't interrupt, doesn't stop, and there's no change. And therefore, conclusion, the third base of Midrash should be eternal because it's associated with Yaakov. And Yaakov is Midas Emes. That's the conclusion. So Godol year covered up by according to the Zohar, because they did not last, and this will be forever. Why? This accords with that which the Gemara says in Psachim, because the third base of Migdash is the union of Yaakov, Midas Emes, Tiferes, the home, and that is forever. Base. Just tzarichim, not for now. Why is a home more permanent than a mountain or a field? The explanation escapes me now, but I know it's dealt with. At the pshat level, the Gemara is not speaking about permanence or eternity, just the Milo, mountain, field, welcoming. House is welcoming. So the world then will say, we're going to go to the house of Yaakov. We're all coming home. He's the one that called it a home. That's the part of the pshat. Here is adding the union of permanence, which we have to understand how that connects to bias over a mountain or a field. Something is ringing in the back of my head. Okay, so I'll get that too. I will continue. Ois base. Yeah. In the option of my now that comes a nuance. Even though the Gemara we just quoted, so the Gemara talks about that. Why will they say in the future, let's go up to base Yaakov? Because only he called it a bias, and Avram called the future side of the base of Migdash, he called it a mountain, and Esau called it a field. Nonetheless, even though that's the language of the Gemara, Haloshim b'Lekot show when the Lekot brings this Inyan, he quoted earlier from Lekot Torah. Where do you quote from Lekot Torah? Yeah, Lekot Torah, yeah. Who explains that Yaakov is Midas Emes. So there, interestingly, he says, Shalish Geulas, 3 redemptions. Doesn't say by 3 Batim Mikdashos, but 3 redemptions. Gula Rishoyne b'schus Avraham. The first redemption is the schus of Avraham. Gula Shnia. In other words, he substitutes. The general Teichen is the same. First base in Migdash, second base in Migdash. But that is going to provide the diak of Geula, of redemption. But the first Geula is the schus of Avraham. Gula Shnia b'schus Yitzchak. The Gula Shlishis, and the third Gula b'schus Yaakov. The diak of the Alter Rebbe is not so much focusing on the Beis HaMikdash, but the Geula Shlishis or Gula Nitzchis. The final redemption is an eternal redemption.
We're connecting with Geulas to the Beis HaMikdash.
What?
Is each one connected with the
Yeah, it's clearly connected, but why would he just change the language? Why not just simply say it, like the Gemara? The Gemara is talking about the Beis HaMikdash. First, Avraham. Second, they were all Geulas, obviously, right? That they were redemptions. They were moments of potential perfection. Had Yidden not sinned, they would have lasted forever. So finish. The Gemara uses the language Beis HaMikdash, and that Alter Rebbe can remain with that. Why does he substitute and call them these three epochs, these three stages, these three Bati Mikdashos? Why is the stress Geula? So the simple explanation is, what is the main thing of the Geula? The building of the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, so if the Beis HaMikdash is greater, the nature of the redemption is great. Therefore, the Kotetayr, when he wants to speak the greatness of the third redemption, he connects it in Maila, the Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, with the Maila of the third Beis HaMikdash. So let's get this clear. The Alter Rebbe wants to tell us that the Geula of the final Geula will be a greater Geula. Why? That's because of the greatness of the third Beis HaMikdash. So he's interested in talking about the Geula. The Gemara talks about the Beis HaMikdash by substituting the word Geula. Is saying, why will the third Geula be greater? Because the third Beis HaMikdash is greater. Because it's the inyan of Bais. Because it's connected with Yaakov. Are we clear on this nuance?
Order 10.
Order 10. Yeah, okay, we can say it. Note L'kutei Torah. Since the second Beis HaMikdash lacked 5 things that were in the first Beis HaMikdash, the 5 miracles, therefore that period they didn't have the same freedom, didn't enjoy the same freedom like they did in the first Beis HaMikdash. So the matzav in the world then, the matzav in the world is contingent upon the Beis HaMikdash. Okay.
The level of Geula.
The level of Geula, yeah. Now, the Rebbe in Tanya, in the Kotet Torah, is speaking about the Gilul Likus, the Geula that will be in the world at the time of Mashiach. And the point is, he connects it with the Gemara of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The point being that this different Gilul Likus that will be then is because of the different Beis HaMikdash. Simple point. Now to explain that. Why not? Now, Leb's going to explain now. Why not just talk about the Beis HaMikdash? That automatically implies the Geula. The Beis HaMikdash is higher, the Geula is higher. Yesh lo'isiv that tam sheb'lakot Torah metav ma'alis Geula shlishi. So why is the Alter Rebbe stressing the Geula and not the Beis HaMikdash, since one causes the other? And so they're not actually one and the same thing. What's I'm looking for? They're not what? One word for 2 things that mean the same thing.
One and the same?
Synonymous. Gula shlishi sinailis yoisem amayla Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, which we're going to explain. The actual Geula is higher than the Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, although it comes as a result of it. So there's two things. There's the Beis Hamikdash and there's the actual redemption. Why do we see this? Shagula, interesting fact, the Geula, the final redemption. What's the final redemption? That all Yidden come together. That's how he defines it. Kibbutz Golius. Happens after Beis Hamikdash. So you have the third Beis Hamikdash, there's still Geula, it's still a process. So describing what Mashiach does. Yilchem L'chemes Hashem. Then you have the Beis Hamikdash from Koimoi, and then you Yikabesh Titchei Yisrael. So you have the Binyan Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, still not the full Geula yet. And that happens when all Yidden come together. This the Maimon will explain. Elo, just finish it. Shagam Ma'ilazul, the fact that it's followed by Kibbutz Goli is Ba'al Yidei Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. It comes and cannot come without the third Beis Hamikdash. Shalachein he lemedetz. That's why in the Torah, that's why when Al-Teba talks about the virtue of the third, the final Geula, he learns it from the Gemara, which talks about what? Me'amayli the Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. Because the Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi is the catalyst for the higher Geula, the Kibbutz Golius, to be explained, that will happen then. It's already there in essence, but we developed all of the virtues to be followed, Kibbutz Golius, and so on. We're going to, let's, Tchias HaMesim included, which we're just going to talk about in a moment, to be continued tomorrow. We're clear? Today's